Throughout history, the only thing that has ever been discovered that stabilizes the purchasing power of money is a monetary system that's based on something that requires human effort to produce. Because human effort is the common denominator between goods and services on the one side and money on the other. If you don't have human effort on both sides of the equation, you don't have a real equation. It's not a mathematical equation, it's a social equation.
Free markets have been trying to zero in on absolute scarcity with whatever technology is available in the world historically. Like say it used to be seashells with a certain society for which seashells were rare, or the most scarce fungible thing. But as technology became more sophisticated, gold became that game theoretic backstop. Gold has the highest stock-to-flow ratio, has superior relative supply scarcity, all these things that basically caused it to outcompete all the other monetary metals and become global prime money, which it still is today. Central banks hold gold, they settle with finality in gold. People want to know that if I'm holding money, I'm holding something that's self-sovereign. It cannot be deauthorized, it cannot be reversed, it cannot be inflated. The asset that I hold, it has value as determined by the free market.
The way that inflation was fought was not by reducing the printing of money, which is the root cause, but by providing massive subsidies to agriculture to mass produce food at a very low cost. There's a guy called Earl Butz, and he was put in charge of the agricultural program in the US, and he was given the express mission of making more food and making food cheaper.
Earl Butz responded by calling upon American farmers to plant fence row to fence row, and he told them to get big or get out.
In order to make the food so cheap, it was very low on nutrients and very high on sugar and junk. People talk about, well, there's no inflation because look at the CPI is 2% or 3%, and that's just completely ridiculous. There was a time in the US where you could buy a ribeye steak for $1, and then you could buy a burger for $1, but now you can barely buy a soy burger patty for $1. So if you look at it, well, look, there's no inflation. As long as you don't mind the difference between a ribeye and a burger and a soy burger, and you're still paying $1 for your lunch.
Mr. Bernanke, if you don't mind, would you tell me whether or not you do your own shopping at the grocery store?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you're aware of the prices. But this argument that the prices are going up about 2%, nobody believes it. And the old CPI says prices are going up at 9%, so they believe this. And people on fixed incomes, they're really hurting. The middle class is really hurting because their inflation rate is very much higher than the government tries to tell them. If you loan me $100 and in 2 years from now I gave you 90 back, you'd be pretty upset. It's theft. If I don't give you your full $100 back, if you loan me $100, I'm stealing $10 from you. So somebody's stealing wealth, and this is very upsetting. The Fed's going to self-destruct eventually anyway.
Fractional reserve banking, in my view, is inherently bankrupt. I mean, it's always ready to go bust. The reason is fairly simple. Most businesses, or all businesses, as far as I know, try to have the time structure of their assets shorter than the time structure of their liabilities. To have the money flowing in before they have to pay the money out. With banks, however, just the opposite. Banks' liabilities are zero time structure. In other words, you have to pay immediately. I'm talking about demand deposits and banknotes. So all banks are inherently bankrupt. All it needs for the public to find out about it. Essentially, it's a structure based on mythology more than anything else.
This is what I would like you to take away from this. Your money is safe at the banks. The last thing you should be doing is pulling your money out of the banks now, thinking that it's going to be safer someplace else. You don't want to be walking around with large wads of cash, and you certainly don't want to be hoarding cash in your mattress. It didn't pan out well for so many people. And I will tell you this, no depositor has lost a penny of their insured deposits since 1933, when the FDIC was created. So if you're talking about having your money in a safe place, please keep it in an FDIC-insured bank.
Going off the gold standard, and with the FDIC, the use of insurance, of course, is a euphemism. It means the government prints money and bails out the banks.